The conflict in the Middle East is old and complicated. We wanted to take some time tonight to give you a breakdown of how we got here and what could be next. Our Lydia Sparrow walks us through the region's raging, bloody history.
Middle Eastern history experts say the conflict between Hamas and Israel go far beyond the military actions we see now. The issues have raged on for 150 years. Israel's founding father, David Ben-Gurion, proclaimed the modern state of Israel on May 14, 1948, establishing a safe haven for Jews fleeing persecution and seeking a national home on land to which they cite deep ties over generations. Khalid El-Jindi is a senior fellow for the Middle East Institute, a historian and authority of the Middle East and Israeli-Palestinian relations. He says Israel has maintained control of the Gaza Strip for decades and has used its authority to manage the conflict between the two sides. And the attack on Israel on Saturday?
It was clearly a surprise.
International Studies Chair and Middle Eastern history expert Asher Kaufman.
Israeli Jews see the land as, as part of their history. Palestinian Arabs see it as part of their land, going back to the fact that they have, resided on this land before these early Jews, the early Zionists arrived in the late 19th century.
He says the conflict has been largely rooted in religion and politics, and the two mixing has created a volatile, deadly situation.
Palestinians currently do not have a viable, credible leadership that could represent the entire Palestinian people in a negotiated agreement with Israel. Israel, on the other hand, is currently controlled by the farthest right-wing government we have ever had.
Hamas, both experts say, is a terrorist organization.
It has support from certain actors in the region, like Iran, and possibly others.
For years, the two sides have had help trying to broker peace deals, including the idea of a two-state settlement. But despite the years of talks, tension continued to build in Gaza.
Israel has been ruling over Palestinians since 1967. They know how much grain goes in. They know how much electricity is supplied because they're the ones who control the spigot.
And in this latest conflict,
this stage in the conflict is going to end. But when we reach this point, we will go back to point number one. How do we create a viable environment that will allow Israeli Jews and Palestinian Arabs to live in dignity next to each other?
Now, those experts say the international community needs to step in and say a third party needs to intervene if there's any hope for this conflict to decrease. Russ?
Lydia, you and I were talking about this earlier. Third-party negotiations here, nothing uncommon there, going back to the 40s, the 70s, of course, the Camp David Accords back in the mid-70s. And I know you told me back in the 90s, you met former PLO chief Yasser Arafat when he was talking to then former President Jimmy Carter, who was trying to broker a deal, right?
Absolutely. So it was in Plains, Georgia, and the former president invited him to his home, and Yasser Arafat went. I met him, I shook his hand, and of course, Jimmy Carter, the whole time he was there, continuing to try and broker peace in the Middle East there.
And that quest for peace continues. Lydia Sparrow, thank you.
Sure.